Okay, hi friends, and welcome to our latest podcast. We're so excited here at the Liv Design Collective team to share with you our latest podcast, Christmas, Your Christmas by Design. And please remember that we are so appreciative as we're starting out this podcast that we appreciate all of your shares and all of your 5 stars and keep them coming. We're so grateful. Tristan, will you please introduce our team today?
Hi, I'm Tristan, and I still expect you to call me Your Honor on this podcast as well, given this decor today. So Your Honor, and the 2 jailbirds to my left, Jessie, grandmother invented the Snickers bar, sporting a nice red lipstick. And the other jailbird to my left, center, is CEO Devaney with a nice eyebrow game today.
I want to add in on my intro. Can we talk about my eyelashes just real quick?
I just think that we should.
Okay. Yeah. All mine right there.
Just good job, Jessie. So Jessie got a serum. We had this discussion earlier, and I used this serum on my eyebrows, but she used it was like a noticeable change. So, I mean, you certainly could share the link somewhere, Jessie.
Okay. I'll be happy to.
Appreciate that. I would love to have an eyelash game. Okay, so today we thank you, Tristan, Your Honor. We appreciate you introducing our team today. Please wear something different for our next podcast so we do not have to call you Your Honor.
Well, we're jailbirds, so maybe we should change.
I just loved it. Like I was in this, but you 2 were striped. It was just
it's perfect.
Playing on that.
Your Honor and the jailbirds that have come to your court. Okay, so we're going to dive in really quickly and talk about some Christmas decor and really the various Christmas styles, because Christmas is not about our neighbors and what they're doing. Christmas is about you. And we just have a few tips. Obviously, you want to create the Christmas that's for you and your style and your family and the feelings you want to create at Christmas. But we have a couple of tips with that as well. So we love decorating for the holidays. Love being able to do people's Christmas trees. It's just something that gives us a little extra life this time of year. So kind of end of November and early December, our team hustle bustles around and helps people with their Christmas decor. So certainly keep us in mind for next year. It's a little late this year. I'm sure most of your trees are up, but that's something that we are able to help you with. So here is the big tip of the day, you guys, is the same thing that I share every time. And it's just about creating the vision, right? Tristan loves when Devaney talks about vision, but just setting the vision for what you want and finding the images. People love Pinterest. You got to just find the Christmas that's right for you, because there's so many options with Christmas. If you just walk into the store to go buy your Christmas decor, you're going to be tantalized by all the glitter and glisten. And it's like, oh, I could do this or I could do this. So really important to just set that vision ahead of time. And I have a couple of tips for how to set that vision. It's very simple. Number 1, you ready for this?
Numero.
You need to don't work against your architecture and your current decor. You really should work with them. Christmas should not be this like, all of a sudden you've got this very natural home and then you completely glam it up for Christmas. And then, if the exterior of your home has a more vintage flair, or my home has kind of a modern classic vibe. So I've gone to a little more classic on my decor rather than, a really clean estate-like home going flashy and Las Vegas. I call it Las Vegas Christmas. Sometimes we get a little bit of that. My personal feeling is there should be no Las Vegas Christmas, but depending on your style, I could see Tristan maybe having a little bit of the Las Vegas Christmas.
I object. I mean, denied.
Okay.
I mean,
I could see you also. I'm very interested in your Christmas style as we talk through these. But again, just playing against the architecture, there's nothing worse than driving down the street and you've got this house that it should be cute and cozy. And then you've got the flashing whatever. Play with your architecture. And if for some reason your architecture doesn't match your style, I think that's where that gets to be a little bit tricky. Then you're going to want to continually transform your house to match your style, right? Because you can do a Victorian home and make it modern. So that is the first tip, to just really two things: play with your architecture, but also play with your personal style, and then just dive into the research. This year, many of you are, too late, but end of the season is a great time, or during the holidays as we get closer, is a good time to start to collect for next year. Any additional things for that, ladies? Otherwise, we're going to dive into our favorite Christmas looks.
No, I think that makes total sense. And
I
I think
do have a friend that really likes to have a well put together tree that it's very crisp. To say that it's very designerly is probably the way I would describe it. The ornaments are all beautiful. She has all the right proportions, beautiful ribbon. The trimmings are phenomenal. And then she'll have a tree that her kids can decorate that she's not going to be like quite a control freak over. And I just kind of liked that. So as we talk about personal style and everything, whatever that case may be, there are some different formats that have been helpful for people as they're decorating for the holiday that, I kind of want this room to just be a little bit more playful, a little bit more kid friendly. But then like there's a formality in some of our other areas that maybe it's a little bit more buttoned up and a little bit more like your expensive blown glass ornaments are used there, or like something that you've inherited from your grandma, like things that are a little bit more formal are in other areas. And so I just think that whether you have kids or not, there's always just like a funness and a whimsical nature to Christmas. And we can get like more into that, Debony, as we talk about specifics with style.
Yeah, I like it. And that does bring me to a tip that we did talk about, but before we get into styles, that you really should carry that same theme consistently throughout your house, except in that case where you're like, maybe, if your Christmas tree has a little formality to it, then through your entry and dining in the main areas, you want to continue that same look and not have peppermint Christmas tree, bright and shiny, and then something completely different in the other room. That gets tricky because Christmas evolves. And then you're like, all of a sudden you were in the playful Christmas and you get older and your kids are older and you're kind of transforming that. So, you don't have to be pleasing everybody else, but that's just like a general rule, right? To carry that theme throughout those main areas. But to Tristan's point, in kids' bedrooms or in the basement where there might be a rec area, those are great places to mix it up and have it. You can still have a little bit of the consistency and the color scheme, but definitely go to a different, more playful style that's more kid friendly. And in my case, this style is just like, kids, you do it however you want. It's all the special fun ornaments. Those are my favorites. Like my daughter got her volleyball ornament, or her, the puppy ornament that we got for our dog, those kind of things. There's nothing better than that. That was one point. And then we always talk about scale when we talk about decor. So just remembering, Jesse brought that up earlier, that just remember the scale for whatever it is.
Even in the story, something may look big and then you get it home and you're like, oh my gosh, that is dinky. Like,
yeah. And considering what your house might be like, my home is a little bit more in the grand scale with a little bit taller ceilings than a house that was built in the late 1800s or early 1900s. It's a little more Victorian, and you can play to this, just consider the scale of what your house is. So we are going to go through just a couple of our favorite Christmas themes. I was reminded about the Christmas tree that we did last year in Park City, Tristan. And it made me think that Christmas doesn't always just have to be in the themes that we kind of think. I loved that we did bring the kind of mountain rustic. We had these gorgeous, speaking of scale, Santas that were huge that we stuck in the tree that were these cool vintage Santa Claus. But then, and that was great for their grandkids. But then we had those blown glass that they love, the arts and crafts era. And so we had these cool blown glass ornaments. So it kind of fit their decor. In addition, it wasn't just like Christmas. It was like, it really flowed. It was their Christmas. And I loved that. So I don't know what you'd even call it, because it felt collected. Like they would have got those
curated.
They were such traveled. They're still traveled. We're always jealous where they're going, but we do get that, kind of curated feel. So there is a classic Christmas. We love a classic Christmas that's just kind of your red and green. And
I love that. Just crisp too. And
crisp,
I love that.
Classic. So that's certainly something, if you have a more traditional, just if you're traditional in general and your decor is traditional, classic Christmas, it's always awesome. vintage Christmas is also really fun. Who doesn't love an old sleigh?
Right.
But I love how, for me, vintage Christmas doesn't fit my vibe. I was going to say I'm way too cool for that, but then I was going to feel bad for those who want vintage Christmas. I was kind of kidding. But vintage Christmas is like, I personally love it, but I don't love it for me.
I love to look at it.
I love the look, and I can just imagine several of my friends who are very cool that would totally do the vintage Christmas, and I would love it. What's so great about vintage Christmas is it feels so cozy. There's nothing more cozy than a vintage Christmas. Tristan, would you do vintage Christmas?
I don't have all the right decorations for vintage Christmas, but like if I could ever just have my grandmother's tree replicated, she had these fun, funky things that were so cool. And I don't think I could ever replicate it perfectly. But one thing that comes to mind with vintage Christmas decorations is those kind of mid-century multicolor houses that either people display them on a mantle, a hearth, or they're right underneath the tree. And she had lights within them. And then there was this mirror that had little glass ice skaters on it.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know why. I just absolutely love that. But the train that goes around the tree, those things, like, to me, if we're thinking how our grandmothers did their Christmas trees, the larger bulbs that are those larger vintage bulbs, I absolutely love. But I could see, Debony, how that may not be the right look for your house. It doesn't really speak to your style, I don't think either. But like the trees that are fabricated now and that are manufactured that have the dainty lights are still what's out there and what's available. So when you have these, really feminine, petite, sparkling lights, sometimes the vintage bulbs don't really mesh as well. So I think that's why vintage Christmas is sometimes a little difficult to truly pull off. One other thing that she did with ornaments that I don't know if it would work for my house, but I absolutely loved them too and geek out over this vintage Christmas ornament is the ones that like they have like liquid in them and the base is kind of like a little teacup, but it's almost like a candle and there's bubbles in it. You guys, I'm butchering this description, but do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Like, I'm not talking about tinsel. I'm not talking about those swirly icicle looking things. Those are vintagey too. But like, does anybody know what I'm talking about these little bubble lights that like, you know what? This is where I just am like, if I were ever in front of a client, I would be drawing it because I'm not describing it.
Well, let's find a picture
very well.
and we'll put it up on the video part.
I'm going to just be like quickly drawing this while you guys continue this conversation. Because
I do love though, like with the vintage is the Spode dish collection. I mean, and these have been going since I want to say 1928. Yeah. And it's just the same picture of the Christmas tree, the same train going around, and they're beautiful.
Yeah.
But I think that's a very specific style.
And I think it's just, again, in a matter of if you want to do that look, to go for it and just find all the image and that vision to bring your Christmas together. I personally feel like it's one of the most, it's nostalgia. Like there's just something so magical about it. I think the vintage Christmas is going to continue to come back because nostalgia's come back so much that people are going to continue to evolve and want to like go that direction, bringing the old school back. But there's nothing, I think for a child, that's a very magical Christmas feeling.
It does. It creates that emotion and it taps into that emotion. And that's for sure. I mean, and that's what Christmas is about, is those memories. And that, I think that's why Tristan loves her grandma's stuff, is it's those memories and it creates that emotion
that I think you don't get as much with some of the others.
Yeah, I just tried to draw this ornament, the lights that I was talking about, that bubble, and it's looking highly inappropriate for this podcast. It's looking a little phallic. I just think that we should not show you this while recording, but if I do find,
we'll find an image
what the product is. Can I link it to our Instagram so that people can just nerd out with me about how these vintage things are? I'm pretty sure one of my aunts has my grandma's, and my brother and I were talking about this the other day over Thanksgiving, that one of my aunts there is just a little touch on what Christmas was with our grandma at her house, because she has some of those things that spark those memories, and the smells and the sounds and the bubble lights, right? It's all creating what we love to say in the business is it just is creating this atmosphere. It's creating these moments. And I think that's kind of a buzzword that's used a lot, is moment. But in Christmas, like, that's what they all are. They're all just these really great moments. So, yeah. But anyways, back to personal style. Thank you for letting me lament.
And the reason that we do it. Okay, we're gonna find that picture and save everyone from your
be all nostalgic. Yes,
inappropriate drawing. Elegant Christmas, that I feel like there's kind of a trend right now that I feel like this is the Christmas I'm seeing the most of right now, at least with just maybe our clients or on Instagram, that is just kind of a really well put together, very designerly tree that's very layered, lots of, I would call my tree on the more elegant side, even though my personality is not overly elegant. Like I wear lipstick maybe for the podcast and that's about it. But just layers of different colors. The red isn't red and the green isn't green, but it's certainly not colorful either. It's a little more natural, subdued colors. Like my personal tree has more of the deeper red tones and softer green tones, but it's still, it still has that Christmas effect. And I like it. I think for a lot of people, that's what they want in their main Christmas tree and their main decor, is to have that elegant feeling. I don't know that it gives always that same nostalgic feel. So sometimes I feel like elegant, you can mix in just a little bit of that vintage flair and give it that kind of that rustic elegance. I feel like the rustic, in fact, we'll just move on to rustic Christmas. I think you can do rustic Christmas in a lot of ways. So we do a lot of decor up in the Park City and Heber City areas where people do want that cozier mountain Hallmark movie feeling. And where you can put in, rustic. I personally still, even on my tree, I have a few things that just bring it down to earth so that it's not a glam tree for me, that it's like the jingle bell balls, but they're rustic and, they just have that natural feeling. So there's certainly a way to do a rustic tree without, having it.
Are you talking about like putting some aspen in there too? Like aspen twigs, and
you can do all sorts.
You know what really does it for me with some of the traditional, leaning a little rustic for some of our clients that want to have in their cabin homes their Christmas decorations, is either buffalo check or a plaid. Those can still be very classic and clean without getting too, when you start putting your deer horns in the tree, then we're definitely like, we're there, right? We're having an extra mountain cowboy Christmas if we're putting all of our horns and our boot ornaments in the tree. But if you want to keep it more like Christmas in Vermont, or you want just a pure cabin classic, then I think that's where you start using buffalo check and really incorporate some of those plaids. We'll also just get really into the details about plaids, because Christmas plaids, I have seen so many different Christmas plaid ribbon, and they can just be so varied. They can look very crisp and clean, but then they can also get very countrified in that realm too. So like, there's just so much to play with that. It's a lot of fun. Well,
and I like that. So I think you can take it can be a rustic elegant tree, or it can be a little more of that country that maybe doesn't go vintage, but it's like country tree. And that's not something that we do a whole lot, but I think a country tree is awesome for someone that's, if that fits where you live and that look. Again, I think that's very nostalgic too, to have more of a country type.
Well, take us somewhere warm. I want to go warm. Let's go coastal.
I want to go somewhere warm.
I want to go somewhere warm. Take me coastal. How do I decorate for my
So really, there's a couple of options. So, when I think of trees, I think of like, my tree has 3,000 items on it. Like, it is layered and layered and layered. But I do love, I was about to go to Scandi, but that's not warm. So let's go to the natural coastal tree. So there's like, I love the movement right now of all the natural ornaments that are natural textures. And there's some that we had, I know last year, I don't know if we still have any left, that just were like textured. So a tree that's just like, it feels like if you were, in California, that you could have a little more fresh vibe without being colorful. So sometimes depending on, again, your decor in your house, if your house is a little more serious and traditional, it gets really hard to do the bright red and green and, kind of that neon flashy look.
Right.
But this natural look, it might fit your style a little bit better if you just layer in soft natural textures, and it's a little more about the tree than about all the stuff. Whereas in some of the other styles, it's about you just like cramming the tree with your style. In this case, the minimalism has that kind of warmer coastal feeling. Does that make you feel better, Jessie? Are you feeling okay? Are you warmed up?
I warmed up. Thank you.
Sand, and you've got just a really pretty soft tree. But a Scandi tree, I do love, where there's just kind of more of a handmade. It's really just about ornaments, and it's not like you layer your tree with the ribbon and the picks, and we love to do that. I love a tree where I'm stuffing the ball in that's like this big, and then I've got the ribbon and all the things. But the Scandi tree, call it the Scandi tree, that's just very minimal. It's such a beautiful look for Christmas. We have a client that loves this style of look, that you just, you have the little Nordic trees, and it's just more simplified, and you're not decorating for 17 days like some of these other things, that you can just simplify it. And for some people that matches their decor, and I love that. I
have had, Devaney, I just have to interject something. I have had clients that want a fancy, elegant look, but absolutely despise glitter. And that is a little bit tricky in some of our vendors and some of the retail markets out there, that there is glitter everywhere in Christmas decor, into the ribbons, into the threading within the ribbon. There's always something that has either high shine or it's just completely glitter. And so how to balance that with your designs and everything like that, it's sometimes helpful to have a more simple velvety texture when you have all of this glitter or all of the high shine. And so it's possible to elevate into a very elegant blown glass ornaments, or using matte with some high shine to really like elevate your designs overall. But let's be honest, it's kind of hard to completely reduce and completely eliminate glitter altogether, because it's just everywhere. Like the glitter fairies have all just like sprayed glitter all over Christmas decorations.
Absolutely. So I think let's wrap this up in 5 words or less. Find your vision.
Find your vision. I love it. Find your vision. That might be, we didn't really get into fresh Christmas. You can kind of have that fresh feeling that's, a mix of natural, but some little bit brighter colors. And then there's the fun, bright play for Christmas. Find what is you, match your architecture, match your personal style, consider your family. This isn't just about, sometimes we focus as women, it's all about us. But, think about your family and maybe what they would want. And you can kind of mix that through and make it a place that everyone loves, because we all know what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to create memories, like you said, Tristan. And Christmas can, like, you just remember that one thing. I have a thing from my childhood that I absolutely remember, and it's a magical feeling. So we're trying to create that in our homes. And the easiest way to do it is to find your vision. Set the vision, and then everything that you have when you buy, you can hold it up to that vision, and then you're not buying things that you do not need. Thank you so much, friends. We are so glad that you joined us today. Happy Christmas decorating. Hopefully we gave you some tips that you can use. And please, again, remember to share. We would love you to share our podcast. We are so grateful for your 5-star reviews, and we will see you all next time. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy Christmas. Thank you so much.